Hello, my name is Madison Webb, and today I'll be presenting on the continuing participation in the Open Skies Treaty despite the growing trend of Russian non-compliance. The Open Skies Treaty is a multilateral agreement that allows scheduled flights over any states party to the agreement using treaty-regulated planes and sensor equipment that must be approved by all members. It offers a very basic level of intelligence collection for the U.S. and their allies, especially for Russian satellite states. In recent years, it has become apparent that Russia, under the authoritarian-style leadership of Vladimir Putin, is increasingly prone to non-compliance and acts of aggression against ex-Soviet territories in an attempt to increase Russia's power. In addition to Russia's continued aggression in Ukraine, they have also been accused of violating numerous bilateral and multilateral agreements, including the Open Skies Treaty. The U.S. has been concerned not only about Russia's restrictions on flights over Kaliningrad, which they believe are in violation of the treaty, but also Russia's new sensors installed in the Open Skies Treaty planes, which present capabilities that offer far more in-depth intelligence gathering than their own outdated sensors, giving them a strategic advantage over the U.S. Russia claimed in response that the U.S. is violating the treaty by not approving their new planes. The issue has been subject to many debates, but the U.S. has since approved the planes. However, with the U.S.'s recent declaration of suspending their participation from the INF Treaty in reaction to Russia's repeated noncompliance, many debates have arisen in U.S. government about the future of other treaties shared with Russia, threatening the continuation of the Open Skies Treaty. The Open Skies Treaty remains a valuable asset to U.S. intelligence and national security efforts, which is especially valuable to European, particularly Eastern European allies, party to the agreement, and its gains outweigh the remaining costs. For the most part, the threat of Russian noncompliance is viewed through an idealist or realist lens, which then led to the decision of whether or not the U.S. should be pulling out of the treaties shared with Russia, as they have recently proved that they are willing to do. In the case of the Open Skies Treaty, however, the issue is far more complex than a fully idealist or realist solution would offer. Most sources that seek to fully understand Russia's goals, motives, and the inner workings of their political system seem to do so through a realist lens, but their conclusions are more idealist in nature. Most sources that look into the threat of Russian noncompliance as a whole, or specifically the threat to the Open Skies Treaty, either started with an analysis of Russia's tactics and their goals, or they did not. The sources that took the time to make an in-depth analysis of Russia seem to have a better understanding for the situation as a whole, and ultimately held similar conclusions for the most part. These are the more extensive academic sources. Otherwise, most sources begin with a brief history of what the Open Skies Treaty is, what the purpose is, or examples of its effectiveness, and then moved on to the issues that Russia is presenting. The Open Skies Treaty has proved effective for decades. It embodied the determination of its states parties to overcome East-West military stalemate by enhancing transparency and openness. Dialogue on this treaty has been mixed about the importance of maintaining it with the presence of Russia's noncompliance. Senator Tom Cotton suggested that the U.S., at least threatening to pull out of both the New START and Open Skies Treaty, would demonstrate a firm and unyielding response to Russian aggression. Though the U.S. policy stated in the 2017 National Security Strategy clearly signifies that they are focused on the preservation of current treaties, the U.S. has also proven that they are not afraid to break these treaties if they deem it beneficial or necessary, as they are currently questioning other bilateral or multilateral agreements like the INF Treaty. Russia's policy with the Open Skies Treaty has been much like their policy with other bilateral and multilateral agreements involving the U.S., which has proven to be fickle and passive-aggressive in nature. They have proven to comply only when compliance does not interfere with their objectives. The U.S. must continue to show strength against Russia, not only to try and tame their aggression, but also to preserve deterrence measures against their other adversaries. However, though showing strength against Russia is overall beneficial, it does not mean that the U.S. should suspend their participation from all allegedly violated treaties. Initial concerns that prompted the beginning of the debate over suspending U.S. participation in the Open Skies Treaty concerning Russian advances in the Open Skies aircraft sensors have recently been largely assuaged by the dispute over terminating Open Skies funding has been resolved, and new sensors have been obtained with the potential for obtaining new planes as well. The remaining concerns lie within Russia's restrictions on flight paths over Russia, which are specifically concerning because they are over highly sensitive areas. The U.S. claims that this is a violation of the treaty and have responded by restricting Russian flights over Alaska and Hawaii as a result. But Russia continues to show no signs of coming back into compliance with the treaty. Maintaining the treaty will not aid in seizing Russian noncompliance, but suspending participation from it would allow Russia a far greater advantage. In the last 10 years, Russia has been accused of noncompliance with the Open Skies Treaty and numerous other bilateral and multilateral agreements, and has suspended its participation in the CFE Treaty when it suited their interests. Russia is quickly proving to be unreliable treaty partners and have proved that unless the U.S. and their allies are more forceful, Russia will continue to abuse the agreements and it could put the U.S. and/or their allies at a disadvantage. The Treaty for the Open Skies aids intelligence communities of both the U.S. and its allies, while also increasing predictability and forcing a certain level of restraint on Russian aggression. If this treaty is lost, it would not only make intelligence collection on the states involved more difficult, decreasing predictability, it would also increase tensions between the U.S. and Russia, decrease Allied assurance, and increase the speed and range of Russian aggression in ex-Soviet satellite states, decreasing stability. The U.S.'s best strategic course of action here is to maintain the Open Skies Treaty and combat Russian noncompliance through other means. Thank you.